this video, I'm going to talk about how to get cinematic videos using your smartphone camera. You cannot get the complete cinematic quality using your smartphone camera, but you can achieve a cinematic look. One of the ways in which you can create the cinematic feel in your videos is by using slow motion. So to create slow motion video, we need higher frames per second in a video. Usually in smartphones, under default settings, smartphone captures only 30 frames per second. Nowadays in these smartphones, there's an option to shoot in 4K and 60 FPS, which means 60 frames per second. We can use that 60 frames per second video and slow it down to 50%, and we can have a slow motion video of 2 times slow, 2x slow-mo. Whenever you are shooting a video, you need to have a plan of these slow motion shots. If you are planning to create these slow motion shots, you need to record videos at a higher FPS. Usually smartphone videos limit to 60 frames per second when you are shooting in 4K. You can even use the slow motion feature in the smartphone camera even. These slow motion features can capture up to 120 frames per second or 240 frames per second, but they are captured in 1080p resolution. If you are shooting in 240 frames per second in 1080p resolution, you can slow this video down up to 10 times and you can have 10 times slow motion. In this video, I'm not going to talk about the manual adjustment of this shutter speed, aperture, ISO and these different things because I have no idea about those things. But adjusting the exposure can help you get a better quality in your videos. Whenever we are shooting outside, especially when you are shooting a scene with bright light conditions outside in daylight conditions, you can see that sometimes the smartphone tend to adjust this exposure. Sometimes when we are shooting the sky and the ground at the same time, the exposure levels goes up and down to adjust to the lighting conditions of the sky and the ground. So whenever you are shooting something like this in daylight conditions outside, make sure that you are having a fixed exposure level. You can adjust these exposure levels by sliding this up and down in your camera app. This is how it works in iPhones. I don't know about the other phones. But there's something that we have to pay attention to. Whenever we are adjusting the exposure in these videos, we cannot reverse these settings after the video is recorded. But if you have a normal video, we can always adjust the exposure by using editing software. Make sure that you're not overdoing these exposure settings. When you are shooting with your smartphone, you can adjust different accessories to make your video quality even higher. For example, you can use these different lenses to get these different looks in your videos. Stabilization is not the only purpose of using a gimbal. I mean, we can create cool stabilized shots using smartphones even. Nowadays, smartphones are having optical image stabilization, which means the camera lens or the sensor is moving to counteract the camera movement. We can create different kind of shots using smartphone gimbals. We can try out different things like tracking an object and doing motion time lapses. And as I told earlier, the purpose of a smartphone gimbal is not stabilization anymore because phones can stabilize videos. When we are using a smartphone gimbal, it's really easy for us to hold the phone in these different angles for a long time. So we can create these cinematic videos using these smartphone gimbals by using different movements. Now grid is something like this. If you go to the camera settings in your smartphone, you can have these grid options. You can turn this on and you can have this grid. Now I'm not going to talk about how to use a grid in your smartphones because there are like different things like framing, rule of thirds and all. I have no idea about those things. What I know about is usage of grids to stabilize footage. As I told earlier, stabilization is one of those things that helps us create this cinematic feel in our videos. So to get stabilized footage, we can use editing softwares to stabilize our footage. Now, for example, I created this video. This is that speed ramped stabilized video type of thing that I thought it would go viral, but it didn't. Anyways. To create this video, what I did was, I turned on the grid in my phone and then I slowly shooted these videos using my smartphone. I tried to keep the subject or certain point in the middle of the video by using the grid. Since I have the grid, I can clearly see where this subject or an exact point lies in the video, so I can just keep that point at the same place with the help of this grid. So at the post-production, what I did was I chose that point and stabilized the video around that point, so that point will stay at the same place. When we don't have this grid, we tend to have the subject at different places and won't look good. Having the grids can help you create not a cinematic view, but it helps to capture videos in a normal way. I mean, it won't create a cinematic view, right? The usage of light. As I told earlier, smartphones are having a smaller sensor and a smaller lens, so obviously smartphone captures only a small amount of light. So especially if you're shooting videos in night time, then lighting condition is a must. I mean, if you're shooting outdoors, then if you have an option, you can get great footage using a smartphone. But if you're shooting indoors and you have good lighting sources, then try to use those lighting sources. Now, I am shooting this video using my smartphone and I'm shooting it in daytime because I have a good light source in the daytime. But I don't have this in nighttime. If I shoot this in nighttime, I'll be having this grainy video. Now you might be thinking, why am I talking about the audio quality in a video about shooting cinematic videos? Creating a great sound design is one of those things that you can do to get that cinematic feel in your videos. I captured some videos when I went on a trip and sound recorded on the smartphone is terrible. I didn't even use this audio at all. What I did was I created a cool sound design for these videos. The sound is one of those things that elevated the quality of this video. This doesn't have a good video quality because I used just a smartphone, but this has a great audio quality because I created a good sound design for these videos. So when you're creating cinematic videos using the smartphone, make sure that you're creating a great sound for your videos. Try to use these different external microphones for your videos and you can create a great cinematic feel by using the audio.